Okay, welcome back to the Investigative Journal on this September 16th, 2016 day on our calendar. I'm your host, Greg Anthony. You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com. My show's played every evening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's Pacific time. They also play the show at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And if you can't get the show there, come to my long-standing website at arcticbeacon.com. That's arcticbeacon.com. And you can get shows going back over a decade regarding the Vatican-led New World Order. Well, today we're going to go back to Rome, Italy. Boy, a place I really enjoy. And I have Leo Zagami on the line. And we've got a great show for you today. Leo comes on every week or every second week to update us a little bit on some of the events going on in Italy, which affect us here in the States a lot. It has a lot of connections to the EU, and especially the Vatican that sits right in that country. And boy, I'll tell you, Leo provides some information we don't get over here. How you doing today, Leo? I know you just moved. Everything okay?
Well, we're trying to get a decent internet connection going, so I hope the listeners will be patient with me about it, because it seems to be still a bit sketchy.
Okay, well, it seems okay right now. Well, I know you've said a few interesting things are happening over on your side of the ocean. Tell us about it.
Well, the first thing I can tell you about is the documents discovered by...
What's that?
Is some documents that were discovered recently by a professor of Georgetown University. These documents prove that the European Union was founded with the support of the CIA and the US Secret Services.
Wow.
And so basically these documents have been made public, and definitely is a weird move by somebody who is linked to the Jesuits. It seems like it's something...
Now, where are you there?
I don't do just... You hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So as I said, Jesuits just don't undisclose documents without any reason. There's always a reason behind it. So it would be interesting to understand why they are now revealing that the EU is being basically founded by the CIA, that used to be, of course, the OSS. Then we have another important event, which has been the merger, actually the acquisition made by...
Okay. Go ahead.
As we know, yes, Bayer used to be part of IG Farben, which was part of the Nazi war of the companies like Volkswagen, who were part of the Nazi establishment. And now Bayer has bought Monsanto for $66 billion. This incredible acquisition will put in the hands of one of the largest pharmaceutical companies, Monsanto, which is already controversial. But what does this mean?
Yeah, I've heard about that. I've heard that's going on.
The genetically modified crops that, as you know, are banned from most of European countries will now, of course, probably be inserted in one way or another, because now they are linked to a European company, which is from Germany. And then we have, at the same time, of course, which it was shocking that the American ambassador in Rome, which, you know...
Go ahead. I'm listening. I've lost you a bit.
Politics at times. Yes, as I was saying, the American ambassador in Rome, he intervened in the Italian political scene, something that is unprecedented, advising Italians to vote for this referendum, this soon-to-be kind of... election, how can I say, it's more of a testing the ground for asking the Italian people if they want or don't want to lose.
Go ahead.
Of course, the Renzi and the Jesuits want the Italian government to lose sovereignty. But at the moment, it seems like the polls are showing that the Italians will vote against all this. So the American ambassador intervened to say that he suggests Italians to lose their sovereignty in favor of Brussels. Now, this outrage most...
It outraged the Italians?
It outraged them so much. Yes, I mean, you understand, an ambassador from a foreign nation advising the Italians on what they should or they shouldn't do is already something that is not really proper, no?
Exactly. Go ahead.
So basically now we have the day after, the Italian president was forced to make himself an announcement saying that in the end it will be the Italians deciding on their sovereignty.
All right. Every now and then.
Maybe these elections are rigged. They are not elections. They are just Italians will be called to decide for their future, for the future of their government, the way basically what Renzi is doing is trying to sell it as basically they will diminish the number of politicians in parliament, and so everything is like it's pushed like for the Italian.
Yes, okay. Go ahead. I'm losing you a bit.
Renzi wants.
Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Italian politicians will be less because they will be simply losing their sovereignty towards Brussels.
Wow. You know, I want to ask you about this interfaith meeting that's going on in Jerusalem. Is there much talk about that? That's the Pope bringing together the religions of the world. In fact, I think it's the open sign of bringing the one world religion to the whole world. Is there much talk about that in Italy right now?
No, we can say that regarding that information about Jerusalem, some people are saying that he might not even go to Jerusalem. He might, a lot of trips of the Pope have been changed and rescheduled in the last few months. And because there was an important change, especially in the schedule in regards to his meeting.
His schedule is changing?
Like, well, it seems like maybe he might have health problems himself, like Hillary Clinton. So maybe he's not that healthy, like they want to portray. And so it seems that maybe they will cancel this trip. The most important trip that the Pope is supposed to now be doing in the next couple of months, from what I heard, or at least in the next few months, is the celebration.
Okay. There's an important trip.
Which will be held, well, yes, in Sweden.
Okay.
And he would be basically, imagine, I mean, a Catholic Pope will be participating to the celebration, the 500th anniversary of Martin Luther. It's an unheard situation, as you can imagine, especially a Jesuit Pope.
All right, we'll be watching that, definitely. Any other news on Ratzinger? What's he doing now? You there?
A new book with a journalist called, I think, Peter Seward, if I don't get it wrong. I don't know if you know him. He's a journalist, quite a known journalist, who was born in Germany. And basically, he has published in the past an important interview book with Ratzinger, I think around 2010. And now he's publishing an...
Okay.
Ratzinger is set to reveal... well, it's an unprecedented scenario because apparently in this book, Ratzinger is going to make some statements regarding... the fact he was deposed and he had to retire from being Pope. He will be talking about the gay lobby for the first time openly in a book.
Wow.
So this is quite unprecedented. I mean, me and you were here talking about the gay lobby 10 years ago.
Exactly, I remember that.
And now himself will be touching this subject in a book, so this is quite interesting.
All right. You know something, Lee? I want to get to a story that, first of all, I want to mention that Leo's just got a new internet connection because he moved, and it seems like every couple minutes I lose him for about 4 or 5 seconds, but that's not interrupting his message. You'll hear me say something in that break, so we'll get that corrected for next time. But it's not that bad, Leo, so we're going to get the message across anyway. here's the deal. I think one of the most important stories out there is what this failed coup in Turkey regarding our government's wanting to overthrow Erdogan, and the story about this Muslim cleric, Fethullah Gulen, who is in the United States protected by us. Erdogan wants him back, stating that he is a radical Islamist trying to overthrow his government, and basically is sitting in the West right now, in our country, trying to bring in a caliphate behind the scenes while the Obama administration protects him. He was brought here in '99 by Clinton, and now there's been over 150 charter schools that he runs, and I can't understand why he does that. All right, so we're back. We had a little bit of a computer glitch here, and we'll get that corrected for the next time Leo comes on. But we'll get through this because there's a lot of important things to talk about. And the reason that I bring this up, Leo and I spoke about this 10 years ago, before anybody was talking about it. And I remember the story. It was a personal story. Leo was in Norway at the time, married to a woman who was a Muslim. And he found out there were some strange things going on in his life. And I think Leo should talk about that. And he understood what Gulen was about, even back then, setting up these schools and this kind of, he presents himself as a moderate, but behind the scenes he's fomenting radical Islam. You saw it 10 years ago when you were in Norway, what they were doing. And we tried to alert people then. I don't know if we got to if people would even listen back then, but I think this story now is so big because people in America, Leo, are saying, well, you know, we got to protect against radical Islam. We already have radical Islam in our country. There's 150 schools that this guy's been allowed to start, charter schools, which, you know, I might add, the Obama administration is against charter schools. They won't allow our own people to start them in a big manner. I won't fund them, but he funds an Islamic group. Your thoughts on that?
Well, yes, 10 years ago I was married indeed with a woman from the Gulen movement. The father was actually a co-founder with Fethullah Gulen of this movement. And she went to the Gulen school, so herself was brought up in this environment. And unfortunately, they tried to, it was a little bit like the Jehovah's Witness.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
They gradually forced themselves trying to say I should study their books. Then one of their movement will come every week at the same Wednesday afternoon to try to convince me about Gulen being a great guy. I should study this or this other text. Of course, I should go on Friday to mosque and all this rubbish. But the way they were doing it was gradually more and more imposing until, of course, I didn't accept.
Yeah, you didn't accept their policies.
Because I didn't accept it, especially once I saw a Jesuit like Thomas Michel showing up at one of their meetings. And basically at that point, unveiling their whole link between Gulen and the Jesuits. And at that point, of course, I didn't want to have anything to do with them. Me and you were criticizing the Jesuits. It didn't seem really coherent that a person like me could be with somebody involved with the Jesuits. But they also were...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead.
My work that I was doing with you. Even the work we were doing together, they were quite contrary. In fact, one of the brothers of my ex-wife came to me saying, you should stop these radio shows because they're compromising your position.
Yeah, and I mean, and so if we you learned about the Gulen movement through a personal, in a personal way, and I think what's happening here in America...
Yeah, I mean...
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Started to say, when I came to the U.S. and I started to say the Gulen movement is a big danger, they are opening school all over the U.S. and everything else, nobody really listened to me. And there were also a lot of disinformation agents that made a lot of problems even for me and you in our own personal relationship and our own work, if you remember at that time, because it wasn't their interest that we went on with exposing them.
Yeah, exactly. And to see how this has grown over the years and to see what happened in Turkey, let's now fast forward to the coup in Turkey and what you learned about it and how Gulen is being protected by the Obama administration, a radical Islamist.
I think that really Gulen is very fearful about the possibility of Donald Trump winning the elections. Because if Hillary wins the elections, of course she's sick and the power will go immediately to the hands of Tim Kaine.
Yeah, that's been talked about a lot.
And at that point, of course, he will have no problem in staying in the U.S. If, vice versa, Donald Trump gets elected, then, of course, probably they will send back Gulen to Turkey and he will face the death penalty.
Well, let's go back to the coup in Turkey. Explain it to people what really happened, because we get a different story here.
Okay, the coup in Turkey.
Yeah, go ahead.
An historical speech that goes back to the end of the 90s, where Gulen actually was basically talking to his own followers in Turkey, telling them when the moment comes, we will overthrow the government to impose our own version of the Sharia, our own version of Islam, and so on. What is the version of Islam that Gulen wants to impose? It's actually the caliphate. It's the same caliphate that ISIS is in.
Go ahead.
You know a bit the Italian mafia, no? Of course, you've been many years in Italy, so you know how it operates. The ones who are at the low level are the ones who are shooting around. The powerful ones are on top. They are in the lodges of Freemasonry in the Vatican. This is how the Gulen movement works. They are the ones who are on top. ISIS, for them, it's just a tool, so they can impose with the weapons the caliphate ideal, and then
Go ahead.
To do this coup in Turkey, they will have probably at this point destabilize the whole country in the way that Iraq was destabilized, in the way Syria was destabilized, in the way Libya was destabilized. So we are very lucky this didn't happen. A few days before the coup, Russia sent one of their main agents to Turkey, a guy called Alexander Dugin.
Okay.
But he was actually there to coordinate the defense to this coup. So basically, Russia and Erdogan anticipated all the moves of the CIA and the Jesuits and Fethullah Gulen. And that's why they didn't manage to overthrow the government. And that's why Erdogan is still in power. This means now a very big problem for America, because Erdogan now is in a position of saying, listen, I have behave. So, they have 54 nuclear missiles in their base in Turkey. So I think that now the situation has, of course, this means a big slap in the face for Obama, but also for Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton is totally connected to Fethullah Gulen, because the Gulen movement is one of the main financiers of Clinton's campaign. And not many people know.
Yeah, and you know what's let me just interject something here. You know what's happening here? There's been a couple whistleblowers that understand what's going on and say that Gulen, with all these schools and money, millions of dollars being given to him by American taxpayers are funding these schools. Now he also brings over his radical Islamic teachers to even teach English in these schools, which I find kind of strange. They're coming from Turkey and all over Muslim countries. But let me finish. What she also found out is he's taking about 40% of their salaries, putting it back into the movement. So he's benefiting in many different ways, and the American government's allowing this. Go ahead.
Well, I had a direct experience in regards to these Gulen schools and the way they were run, because they even had...
Okay, go.
There was a direct involvement of the family of my ex-wife in it, so I actually understood how they work, and it's just a sectarian network like everybody else. I mean, just like, as I said, like Scientology, Jehovah's Witnesses, and they are basically the Jehovah's Witnesses of Islam. But like every other sect, they are manipulated by the intelligence services, and there is also another thing here, that they will have West, especially in the US, where they open all these schools, if in return they didn't favor American policies in the Middle East and in the Caucasic region, where Fethullah Gulen, immediately after the fall of the Soviet Union, started to expand his schools as a cover-up operation for the CIA networks that were establishing themselves in those countries right after the fall of the Soviet Union. So that means trying to mine from the basis the relation of Azerbaijan, all these countries with the Russian Federation, because of course it was, as we know, it's still a big interest of the US to fight Russia. So in the end, this war goes back into the Cold War scenario in which we have the Americans against the Russians, because this is what the Democrats want. The Democrats are the biggest hypocrites ever. I mean, they are the ones who accept money from Saudi Arabia, from Muslim countries.
Exactly. Go ahead.
Do all kinds of human rights violation. But also there is another thing here, Greg. Saudi Arabia is sitting at the head of the Human Rights Council in the UN. I mean, come on, this is a joke. I mean, this New World Order is a great joke. And I hope that thanks to Donald Trump, people wake up to this. And that's why he's the biggest threat to this system at the moment. Of course, he might have his own interest. He is in league with certain...
Yes, yeah, and explain that. What do you think? Is he in league?
With this big plan...
Go ahead.
I think that he is genuine in the sense that he wants to rebuild the America in a more traditional capitalist sense, going back to the American Christian Protestant roots, while instead the Democrats are selling out to the Jesuits completely. So, of course, Trump might have some dealings with Israel or other countries and stuff, but who doesn't? I mean,
Okay.
Candidate if compared with Hillary, because Hillary is not even Hillary anymore. Hillary is just the ghost of Hillary who needs to become president, and at that point she can even die the day after, because the vice president, Kane, will be taking the power, and he's a Jesuit.
Yeah, exactly. And her health looks, I mean, you've heard of all the health concerns here. She's, it looks like she's having seizures. And the press is...
Greg, the thing is, she's half dead, but they will carry her... weekend with the dead, if they can carry until the election day. Then after that, you will never see Hillary again after that. You will see always Kane, and Kane is being brought up in Georgetown University, in those university circles with the Jesuits, but especially if you go and study the work that this Tim Kane has done with the Muslim world, you will understand that he's in line with the Jesuit Islamic worldwide.
Yeah, and you know something, Leo? We're going to have to...
That they can't be.
Yeah, we're going to have to take a break, so just hold that. I want to get into the Jesuit connection to Gulen, to Tim Kaine, as well as the priest you knew well, Thomas Michel, who gave you a great insight on how the Jesuits work together with Islam to bring down Christianity, even though they say they're Christians. Back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
Okay, we are back for the second half hour of the Investigative Journal with Leo Zagami from Rome. It's September 16th, 2016 day on our calendar. And just a reminder, it's only like 53 days till we elect a new president here. So next week I'm going to do a number of shows on the election, and we're going to get back to Leo again, so he'll be on the show next week as well. And I apologize for a little bit of a technical difficulty, but Leo's just moved to a new location, and we're sorting out his internet connection.
Don't worry, Greg, we will make my connection great again.
Okay, we'll make Leo's connection great again, just like Trump wants to make America great again. All right, important thing here. Many people cannot make the connection that we've made years ago, telling people that the Jesuits and the Vatican control the foreign and domestic policy of our country. And it's not. It's a globalist control. They're not interested in American people's well-being. And I think this Gulen movement shows this perfectly. And you've got some, remember you were talking about this priest Thomas Michel years ago.
Well, yes. I mean, I actually started with you in 2006, and I met Thomas Michel a few months later for the first time, and it was shocking because I still have his speech.
Right.
For you, maybe for a future show, because in this speech he went on for an hour saying how Gulen was a fantastic preacher for his people, blah blah blah. In the end, he seemed he was Muslim himself, because he said he was in line with the Sufis, with this and that, and he talked about Jalaluddin Rumi, which is this great figure in the Islamic world, a bit like St. Francis in the Catholic world, and he compared.
Okay, go ahead.
With his speech, and I tell you also another thing that I noticed. he gave this speech without anything written in front of him, okay? But what he handed out after the speech, which is his speech, was exactly what he said. So it was memorized to perfection, recited in a way only a Jesuit could do, using every technique that now people learn when they learn NLP, neuro-linguistic and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, and his connection back to Gulen back then, where is he right now?
Thomas Michel?
Yeah.
Well, he was in Izmir until not so long ago. Apparently now he was recalled in Rome. So it's but then he regularly also features in university in Saudi Arabia. In the Emirates, he seems to be very popular, and he goes, of course, every now and then to Georgetown.
Okay, so he's still around.
Well, he's still around, of course. He doesn't have anymore his, let's say, official position as a secretary of the Interreligious Dialogue of the Jesuits, position that he held when we talked 10 years ago, but he still holds an important position. Let's also not forget that Thomas Michel was also a left-hand man of John Paul II in matters of interreligious dialogue.
You know something interesting, if we can go back 10 years, I remember when we were doing these shows, when no one else was talking about this connection, you were experiencing some hardships. They were coming down pretty heavy on you and wanted to extradite you out of Norway, didn't they?
Well, yes, unfortunately, the Gulen movement at that point got my son, accused me of, got the Norwegian authorities to accuse me of espionage, with basically, I was tricked in going back to Norway.
Go ahead.
At that point, I was arrested for espionage right when I went for the court case regarding the custody of my son. I was instead received by members of the Norwegian intelligence that arrested me in front of my mother and also in front of a journalist who actually maybe in the future you should talk with, because he's a friend of mine from Norway called Hans Gardner, who directly experienced that arrest and also experienced what the Gulen movement was doing to me in that time in Norway.
Exactly. Tell us what happened. After that, after the arrest, what happened?
Well, as I said, I was interrogated heavily. I was released because I got the Italian authorities to intervene. So basically, they were not capable of keeping me in prison. And at that point, they suggested me, a friend of mine from the U.S. State Department said, well, my friend, you lost your son.
Okay.
Was what I did.
And what was that? I missed that. Go ahead.
As I said, he suggested me to leave immediately Norway, get on the first plane, this friend from the U.S. State Department, and that's what I did. I mean, I just went on, but of course, never seeing again my son, because he was taken by the Gulen movement, and that was it.
Okay. So now, I wanted to mention this. Tim Kaine came out of nowhere here. Nobody even knew who he was, and he was very quick to point out he was a Jesuit. He served as a missionary Jesuit. What do you know about him?
Well, I know that, like you said, he served as a missionary Jesuit. He is basically very close also to their interreligious dialogue in regards to the Islamic world. So he has been not only dialoguing and having a direct relation with Thomas Michel of the Gulen movement, but also with other people in the Islamic world. So,
correct. Go ahead.
Enemies of what is U.S. sovereignty. The people who are mining the U.S. sovereignty now are the ones who want Hillary Clinton and, of course, then Kaine to take control of the situation.
Exactly. And, as I view it here, when we really look at what's going on, we've given over $150 million a year of taxpayer money. In 26 states, charter schools have been set up by the Gulen movement. And it seems to be even growing more. They're giving more money out next year. Now, here's the point.
But Well,
Go ahead.
I want to know one thing about the Gulen schools. The most crazy thing was this, that maybe 3 or 4 years ago, my mother got a call from my ex-wife, and they asked if my mother could give them like $7,000 or $8,000 so my son could go to a proper Gulen school. Of course, I said no. I mean, that was like.
Yeah, they're really bold.
Taken my son. Then they want also the money for him for the Gulen school. I mean, they want me to finance their activities. Are they crazy? I mean, of course, it didn't make any sense. So we refused. But it's quite incredible that the way they operate, because they brainwash people from a young age. So I'm pretty sure that my son, by the time he's 18, he will be pretty brainwashed by the Gulen movement. It will be very difficult for me to have any kind of relationship with him.
And that's exactly what they're doing here to children in the States. And it's going on right behind our backs. And Obama, see, the important point here, I think, and I want you to explain this to people. When the coup took place in Turkey, the first thing I heard Erdogan say was, well, maybe we can get back to normalcy if you turn over Gulen to me. He wants Gulen out of the States, back in Turkey, to stand trial for all the crimes he's committed there. At the beginning, our State Department and our government refused. Lately, they said, yes, we will, but it's going to take time. That's the last I heard about it 3 weeks ago. Nothing's happening. And I think he'll never go there.
No, nothing will happen for the next 53 days at least. Because until Hillary is in power, then Gulen is not safe. I mean, this is all depending on what's happening to Hillary.
Exactly. And I think even if Trump gets in, I give you $1 billion. What's that?
Hillary, on the contrary of Trump, is being financed by Gulen for her campaign. So, I mean, the problem there arises because this money is being deposited into the Clinton Foundation and also in other activities of Hillary and Bill Clinton. So I think that in any moment, Gulen, if he got arrested, he could make this public. So they will never arrest him.
Exactly. And even if Trump gets in power, I think because he's a CIA asset, which has been proven, he won't. He'll somehow disappear, don't you think?
I think that at that point, the most easy option for everybody would be to maybe create a fake death, you know, and that will probably take Gulen out of trouble. But that is a possibility. They will definitely not want him in the hands of Trump, so they will probably make him disappear.
Okay, any new news going on in Turkey now with between Russia, our military base there? What are you hearing overseas?
Well, first of all, the meetings that went on with Kerry and with the Russian Secretary of State were very important at the moment also for the whole situation with Turkey, because Turkey is getting closer and closer to Russia. So at this played by the two main forces, like in the Cold War scenario, which are, of course, America and Russia. Then Turkey has always been present. Even, you remember, even at the time of the Cold War, Turkey was always present in the Cold War scenario as a third party in which everything became a little bit muddy and gray, and you could never really understand what was happening.
Exactly. So what?
I think that is the tradition of Turkey. We had also the tradition of Turkey, unfortunately, that attempted the life of John Paul II, becoming himself an instrument of a great manipulation, though at work.
Right. Now, we're hearing here that Russia and America, Kerry and Russia are getting together with a ceasefire in Turkey. Although I don't think that can work. Do you?
The ceasefire in Syria, yes. Of course,
excuse me, Syria. Yeah.
Sure, but at the same time, unfortunately, attacks that are in the last few weeks that have, of course, these terrorist attacks are moved against Turkey by the usual suspects, and they are trying to destabilize in one way or the other Erdogan. But it seems that now, because of this geopolitical situation between Russia and America, being put on hold until the elections, because even Russia knows very well if Trump comes into power, things will change. So let's say that at this point there is a little bit of pause in this regards.
All right. You know, this connection with the Jesuits, when we talk about this one world government, one world religion, how far away are we from seeing a complete change in the way things operate in the world?
Well, of course, then we have the great union of Christianity, and also we know that in Istanbul you have also, people know, the capital of Orthodoxy with Bartolomeo I, who represents one of the main three branches of the Orthodox tradition. The other one being Kirill in Moscow, and then Daniel in Romania. So these three Orthodox factions at the moment, in regards to the New World Order, it seems that Kirill is the only one that is not giving in, creating then a little bit of a friction
Right, go ahead.
towards the one world religion scenario. Of course, the Jesuit Pope is opening more than ever before to Islam, creating what can be seen by some and defined as Chrislam, because he is inviting imams in churches. They even recited the Quran in churches in Italy after the accident in France. Now, of course, the last thing that the Pope did a couple of days ago was to declare.
Go ahead, yes.
Was killed in France, a martyr. And this, of course, serves a purpose, I guess, because the church likes to have martyrs, but also he becomes immediately a beato. So basically he's on the verge of sainthood. Father Kamel, the guy who got killed by these two ISIS thugs who went into the church, if you remember, this summer in France.
You know, there's one interesting thing here, and this is something that I learned over the years. And most people, when they talk about the New World Order, the Illuminati, let's insert the Vatican Illuminati, that's being the same thing, they feel that everything they look at it and they feel, well, they must be a united organization. There's no factions. There's no strife going on between them. And you being an insider who decided to talk the truth about them, alerted me to the fact that there are different factions within this group that sometimes struggle. And that, I think, people need to understand, that it doesn't run smoothly as they think, right? You there?
Yes, it doesn't go as smooth as people think, because the idea of a unified New World Order is, yes, on top of it all, we can say that at a materialistic level, Greg, the great conglomerates of money, the great families, the great lobbies are together, and they have never been so much to.
They are together, but there are splits,
just
right?
Making money upon money upon money, and they're just taking earth and the resources of earth, so they can just use them and then make profit. And this profit, of course, can then multiply itself with wars, with pestilences, with things like this. But in any case, I think that at the moment where we find each other, the New World Order is fragmented in mainly two factions. The one that we see.
Okay, they're in two factions.
The Democrats, the Jesuits, and basically a communistic faction, which it's everything that is liberal, everything that is anti-Christian, is satanic basically in nature. Then we have a faction represented at the moment by Russia with the Orthodox Church, that is the only faction in this New World Order that seemingly is opposing all this. I say seemingly because in the end, of course, the perspective of people like.
Okay, go ahead.
Is simply that this New World This new world order has to be, of course, much more closer to the values of Christ, because it's the basis for the kingdom of God on earth that materializes at the end of time. So we have here two different ways and two different, of course, factions that are battling each other, because this is the war of the end of times. It never said, even the Bible never said that it would be an easy thing at the end.
Exactly. Go ahead.
Struggle, and of course it's a struggle even in the upper levels of powers between different branches of Freemasonry, of secret societies, the Illuminati, as well as you want to define them. I mean, they are a big thing. They're not only one order that takes order from one person. There is many groups of people. Of course, the Vatican and the Jesuits are a leading force in the secret society network today. They are the ones who really control.
Yeah, and
it's like if they are the ones who have all the pizzerias in town. This is the kind of mafia, you know. So they infiltrate every sect, every religion. They try to be present, and they try to monopolize it for the interest of Rome and the interest of course, of Israel, which is together with Rome since the Second Vatican Council.
you know, you wrote a book called The Last Pope, and what I find interesting about it is I've read some statements from Pope Francis even a couple of years ago. He had said he's probably won't be in office very long, and I found that quite interesting. You've seen those statements, of course. What's going to how long is he going to be around?
Bergoglio?
Yeah.
Is somebody who has already basically he came in and he made a few statements that define the fact that he's a short pontificate.
Exactly.
Of it. Not because he's certain that he's going to die, but because he's going to resign. This is what Bergoglio will do when he will probably visit Argentina next year. This visit has been postponed, but in the end, a lot of sources inside the Vatican are saying that that visit will coincide with him announcing his retirement. What does it mean? He wants to retire in his own country. He doesn't want to stay in the Vatican. This will be a revolutionary.
Well,
now we have seen Ratzinger retiring. Huh?
Right. Now, will someone?
We have never seen a pope retiring and going back to his house where he lived in Argentina or in his hometown. It would be like John Paul II retiring and going to Varsavia, to Poland. I mean, it never happened before in the history of papacy, this kind of thing. So you see, Greg, they are gradually destroying the sanctity of this office of papacy, creating unprecedented scenario because they are.
Because they are what? I missed it.
Faith.
Repeat that. Leo was blocked out.
They are basically destroying the basis of the Catholic faith by mining the office of the Pope and creating an office that is just an office. I mean, he retires, he goes back to his hometown or whatever. It's just a job, another job. It's not anymore the holy office of Peter.
Exactly, and basically that's their strategy to create a new, this one world religion, correct? Hello?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we got about, 3 minutes here. One thing I wanted to mention is that right now in Rome, you're seeing the struggle between the Jesuits. Is there anybody standing up against them, talking openly? I know in Italy and in Rome you hear this more than you'll hear here. Has there been any faction in the Vatican that's standing up against this?
Faction, I think apart from a growing interest on the World Wide Web, especially by Italians on the subjects, which has grown exponentially in the last 10 years, also thanks to people like me and you who have introduced this subject, I think that politically the Jesuits are in complete control of Italy's politics and also, of course, the media. So there is no possibility of advancing any.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I myself am censored by most Italian media for this reason.
Yeah, and you were talking about how they were coming down on you on Facebook.
Yeah, I've been censored from Facebook for another 20 days. I mean, I've been censored for a whole month, and before that for a week, and before that for 3 days. It's like they don't want to let me talk anymore on a medium, which is, of course, my one of choice. I've done probably a mistake by trusting Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
In the end, it's a very highly censored medium, and now it's since Mark Zuckerberg has gone to the Vatican, it's in the hands of the Pope.
Yeah, there wasn't any word about that in America. Nobody even talked about him going to see the Pope.
Well, I mean, of course, it's not something you want to let the whole world know. In Italy, though, it was big news, and he even took advantage of basically announcing himself that he would donate.
Yeah, the donation, right? That wasn't a donation.
Internet turned out to be a publicity stunt because it was just Facebook ads.
Okay, you got about 30 seconds. Are the people yes, are you there? Are you there? All right. I lost Leo, but you know something? The show's over anyway. We were having some trouble with the connection, so we're going to get to Leo next week. It was an abrupt ending. He just moved to another part of Italy after that earthquake, and we had a little struggle, but I think we got the message across. So we're going to bring back Leo in a week or so and ask that question about Zuckerberg and what he was really doing there, which we addressed before, by the way. And the issues, putting the Jesuits connected to Gulen and to Obama, this should be talked about more, shouldn't it, folks? Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. Have a good weekend, and we will be back next week on the Investigative Journal.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie, with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character, as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy, in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.